Hi everyone, this is I'm Alright and I'm Lisa Robertson. This is my YouTube channel where I help new and aspiring writers get the mindset and the skill set they need to take their writing to the next level. I am a editorial director and also a writer of fiction and nonfiction, so I'm super excited to be able to share some of the tips and tricks I've learned along the way with you. So we're doing a whole series this week on kind of the 7 critical things you need to focus on in order to make your novel the best it can be. We're on day 4. We've talked so far about plot, setting, and characters, and today we're going to talk about conflict. Now, obviously, conflict is unavoidable in real life, and it's something you shouldn't shy away from in fiction too. Of course, like I run from conflict in my personal life, but wherever I get a chance to ratchet it up in my fiction, I'm going to take it because it's so vital to the vibrancy of your novel. Your characters need to have problems. They need to have issues. They need to have conflict and turmoil both within themselves and with the other characters and environment around them. So we're going to talk real quickly about 5 types of conflict today. There's internal and external, of course, and each of these 5 fall into one of those categories. Only one of them is internal, and we'll talk about it first. And we're going to talk about examples of it in fiction from The Hunger Games, because that book is just rife with conflict from beginning to end. So I thought it would be a good one for us to use for an example today. The first one is that internal conflict, which is man versus self, right? These are your inner demons, your indecisiveness, your turmoil within. When your characters are wrestling with a decision or a path or a choice that they need to take. In The Hunger Games, Katniss, we're going to do Katniss for all of them today, I think, because she's such a great character. But Katniss has a lot of internal conflict throughout the novel. The most prominent being she's conflicted about her feelings for both Peeta and Gale. She loves them both, has very different relationships with both, and wrestles with which one really is supposed to be her, who she's supposed to be with, right? And what the consequences of those actions are. But moreover, even than that, Katniss is very conflicted about being a symbol for the revolution. She has a lot of inner turmoil about that because she doesn't feel that it's her choice to make, and she's not interested in being a symbol to overthrow this powerful force. She just wants to survive. And so she's very conflicted about being used and being a catalyst for all this death and destruction that the revolution will cause. So those are 2 examples of internal conflict for Katniss. The next 4 types of conflict are external conflict. They are man versus nature, man versus society, and man versus the supernatural, or kind of his fate, forces beyond himself, okay? So for man versus man, obviously that is the conflict between 2 people, 2 characters, right? Katniss has beef with pretty much everybody in the Hunger Games except for Prim and Rue. So I think it's really, and maybe Cinna, I think it's pretty easy there's a million examples we could pick from that. I think this is when people think of conflict, this is the immediate thing that comes to mind, is kind of the conflict between 2 people, whether it's 2 lovers, 2 adversaries, 2 co-workers, to teammates, whatever it is. That's a very easy kind of conflict to understand and to insert into your manuscripts. Okay, it's also very important, right? Those dynamics between those interpersonal dynamics are very important in your novel. The next kind of conflict is man versus nature. The elements, the forces beyond themselves, right? That aren't supernatural. These are natural rather than supernatural, right? In the Hunger Games, obviously weather plays a huge factor. There's fire, there's rain, there's drought, there's oppressive heat, there's oppressive humidity, there's animals. There's lots of things that Katniss has to struggle with and fight against and have conflict with from that are natural in nature. You know what? I'm doing a video a day. I'm not even going to worry about quality anymore. I'm just going to kind of crank these out. So natural by nature is going to stay in. The next conflict is, I think, the central and most important one, at least in this novel, and that is man versus society. Katniss is up against a tyrannical regime, right? I mean, it's not just conflict between her and Snow as man to man. It's her against the empire, the capital. It's her against this society that unless you live in the capital, you are going to be oppressed. All the districts, in one way or another, are oppressed by the capital. They're in varying degrees. And the capital literally controls all of them and all their fates. These tributes have to fight for their lives because the capital is punishing things that happened 75 years ago, right? Like it's insane, and it's oppressive, and it's rife with all this conflict, right? So it is a societal element that needs to be overthrown that she is fighting against. And then later throughout the books, she's also fighting against the rebellion, because the revolution is not exactly free from corruption either, right? So that is kind of the societal forces that cause all these other things to happen. The societal forces cause the hunger. It causes the man-to-man conflict. It causes the internal doubt. It causes everything. Now, when the last one is man versus supernatural, man versus their fate. And I'll be honest with you, every example that I thought of in this, in the games for this type of conflict, you could also make an argument that it's societal. It's kind of technology that's been made by the capital, or situations that have been contrived by the capital. So in that sense, it's hard for me to find an example of it, but I do think Katniss is I thought she was kind of fighting her fate and kind of fighting her destiny throughout the novel, but really, Katniss volunteered for the Hunger Games the first time to save her sister. And so it wasn't really her destiny, it was Prim's. And the second time, it wasn't really a destiny. There was no choice in the matter. It was something that Snow and the capital contrived in order to kill her. So I think it's those, while they could be examples of fighting her destiny and fighting a fate and fighting a force bigger than herself, I didn't think they were the best. But I think, biblical stories, there's a million examples of man fighting a supernatural power or a being beyond themselves or their own fate and destiny that you can draw from. So those are the 5 types of conflict as illustrated throughout the novel The Hunger Games, what its main character Katniss Everdeen experiences. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you are able to put lots of conflict in your novels and keep as much conflict as possible out of your personal lives. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.